Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Fast Track to Career Bliss, hosted by NAPW. My name is Russ Morrow, and although I'm not personally a professional woman, it is my pleasure to moderate today's session. I'd like to extend a special welcome to all NAPW members joining us today. For those of you who may not be familiar, NAPW is an online and face-to-face community made up of over 850,000 professional women who join together to cultivate valuable business connections, develop professionally, and promote themselves and their businesses. You can learn more about NAPW online at napw.com. Today's webinar is part of our Horizon Insights series, where we offer interactive virtual events and content featuring experts who provide insights on the issues that help professional women shape their career and personal life. Before I introduce our speaker, some housekeeping. Everyone is on mute. Questions. There will be some time for questions at the end of the presentation, and you can submit them in the sidebar on the control. Depending on the volume, we may not get to all of your questions, but if that happens, we will do our best to answer them via blog post and email, and we'll find a way to communicate answers to you. Recordings of the webinar will be emailed after the session and will also be available on the Bright Talk platform, usually within a couple of hours. Okay, so without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. I've had the opportunity of spending some time with Kathy, and I know that you are in for an absolute treat today. Kathy Caprino is an internationally recognized career and personal growth coach, writer, TEDx and keynote speaker, and leadership trainer dedicated to the advancement of women globally. Kathy is the founder and president of Elia Communications and the founder of the Amazing Career Project, an online training course helping women build successful, passion-filled lives and careers of significance. Kathy, thank you for joining us today, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Russ. I am thrilled to be here and thrilled to be with the NAPW community. Can you hear me fine? Are we all set?
We sure are.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your incredibly busy day. I know we have well over 1,000 registrants, and so I know that that means you are here because you are interested in getting on the fast track to career bliss. So let's get going. Let's go to the slides and start sharing some strategies and tips that I hope will get you on the path to this. All right. Clicking forward, there we go. Perfect. So I want to tell you that this information that I'm sharing with you, some of you may have heard of me or read a blog post, or I write on Forbes and a number of other platforms. So you will have heard this already, but I have had an 18-year corporate career that was, while successful on the outside, not successful on the inside, and it was bumpy, bumpy, bumpy all along the way. And briefly, I'll share this with you. When I hit 40, those bumps turned into full-blown crises. I faced discrimination. I faced sexual harassment, zero work-life balance, chronic illness, toxic bosses and narcissism in the workplace. You name it, I faced it. And I tried to get help. I tried to understand what is it that's going wrong here. And I saw a therapist and a career counselor. Nothing moved me out of that role, out of that field, as it should have. And what happened is, 1 month after moving to a more affluent home in a more affluent area, 9/11 happened. We all just honored the 9/11 victims just recently. 9/11 happened, and I was laid off in a way that was just brutal to me, and it just knocked me to my knees. And I share this with you because sitting in my therapist's office, he said, I know from where you sit, this looks like the worst crisis you've ever faced. But from where I sit, it's the first moment you can choose who you want to be in the world. Now, who do you want to be? And from that discussion, that 1 hour discussion, I moved forward and I became a therapist, got a master's in marriage and family therapy, became a coach, started writing. And so now it's been 12 years of doing this work and working with over 12,000 professional women. And what I can tell you is this: if I were to distill it down to the most fundamental concepts, here's what I see. When we are clear about who we are, what we're capable of, what we have to offer, and when we have confidence, when we believe in ourselves, when we know we are competent and can navigate through the challenges, life goes pretty well. It swims along pretty nicely. It's when we're not clear about who we are and what we want, and when we're lacking confidence, that's when it breaks down. So what I want to tell you is, in short, if you want the cliff notes, what we need to be on the fast track to career bliss and love our work, and we're going to talk a little about what does that really look like. We need 4 things. We need clarity, courage, commitment, and I want to tell you about that, and connection. So courage, we need it because we need to be brave to do the work that we love and to speak up for ourselves and rise up and stand up for our lives. And many of us don't have that courage, and we're not trained to have that courage. The third thing, commitment. I was talking to Tony Robbins' coach a while ago, and he said, I don't care what my clients want. I said, you don't? What do you mean? He said, I care what they're committed to, and that is the truth. We want a million things. The question is, what will you commit to? What will you give up everything to go get? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And finally, connection. I didn't know this in my 18-year corporate career. I didn't get this, that we really cannot advance and achieve the life and the career we dream of if we're not connected with ambassadors and sponsors and mentors and people that love us and people that will speak for us. So we do have to build connection to people more than we have before. So that's the Cliff Notes version, but let's get into the details. So, one awesome thing that I'm so excited about doing is I'm on my Forbes blog, I'm able to talk to movers and shakers and best-selling authors and thought leaders and people making a real difference in the world. And one of them has been Sean Achor, Achor, who I recommend everybody to check out. He's got a wonderful TED Talk, The Happy Secret to Better Work, and he's a positive psychologist and has done years of research on happiness. And we were chatting in several interviews that I've done with him, and he shared this. The research shows that we have a crippling myth in our society today. And here's the myth. We believe and we are taught if we work hard, we will be more successful, and if we're more successful, we'll be happy. The problem is it's just wrong. It's absolutely misguided and wrong. It's really the other way around. The more happiness you can have access to, that's what fuels success, not the other way around. So part of what I'm going to be talking about here is how you can access confidence and happiness and authenticity so that you can create the success you want. It will not happen the other way. All right, so again, I'm going to touch on all of these things in greater depth in the hour we have together. So in my own research, after working with 12,000 women over 12 years and hearing from thousands of people a year, I've seen that there are 6 crippling ways people sabotage their own success. And I am going to talk particularly to the women in the audience. Maybe there's some wonderful guys here too. I believe this work and these messages are relevant for both men and women, but I do believe that women are not men in skirts. I believe that women are different. They process challenge differently. They have different challenges in the workplace and in the world and in society. And we're culturally trained and societally trained in a different way from men. This is what my research is bearing out and thousands of other studies as well. So when I'm talking about the 6 crippling ways people sabotage their success, I'm really referring to what I see in professional women from every level imaginable and every age. The first is they don't develop strong enough boundaries. Boundaries, it's a concept I learned in my marriage and family therapy training. Boundaries are the invisible barrier between you and your outside systems, and it allows you to understand where you end and other people begin. Boundaries allow you to say no to what is harmful and injurious and a violation of who you are and what you want and what you need. When we don't develop with strong boundaries, we get pushed around and worse, mistreatment, and we end up attracting mistreatment. So I'm wanting this to be very personal for everyone who's listening. I'd love you to take notes. I'd love you to write down what is resonating and also what you're resisting, meaning the things you think, oh, no, I don't want that to be true, because what you resist is where the most growth will be. But I want you to think about your own boundaries. Do you feel well respected? Do you feel that when you speak, your messages are valued? Or are you disrespected? Are you not appreciated? Are you not valued? Often, if it's a chronic problem, boundary issues are formed. The issue comes from childhood. And if any of you have had any narcissism in your upbringing or emotional manipulation, that makes boundaries even more fragile. And I've written a lot about this. You can check out my website, kathycaprino.com, for more on all of this. The second way we sabotage our success is we don't identify the right decisions. And by that, I have right in quotes. I don't mean right for someone else. I mean right for you. So often we're influenced by what other people are doing, by what we think we should do, by what our parents tell us to do, our tribe. Sometimes our mentors are not great mentors. They think they know better, and they tell us, here's what you should do. This is the right move. The issue is, if we're not identifying the right moves for our internal guidance system, our values, our beliefs, our standards of integrity, then we're not going to find the success and happiness that we want. We have to start understanding ourselves in a bigger way. The third way people sabotage their success is they don't communicate well and build bridges and build connections. So I'm wanting you to think about how you connect. When you connect with someone, does it go well? Do they want to hear more? Do they want to relate in a deeper way? Or does it seem to not go well? These are all things we need in order to build more success and get on that fast track to career bliss. The fourth way we cripple our success is not recognizing the need for community. I can't tell you how many professional corporate women I work with who come to a point where they want to change their careers or leave their jobs or interview and get a better job or get promoted, and they realize they don't know anyone outside of their job. That's a really pivotal mistake. You want to, starting this minute, from the minute you hang up from this call, you want to start building your tribe of people outside of where you work, so that you have a network of people who are going to support you and uplift you and open doors for you. The fifth way we sabotage our success is we don't lead our own lives. We lead someone else's life. When I look at my 18-year corporate career, I see that I was very influenced growing up by my dad, my beloved dad who's passed away, but he was a GE guy for 30 years, and he loved it. But I learned somehow through osmosis, he never told me, but I thought, well, you've got to have a big corporate job to be happy. Well, I was leading his life, not my own life. I'm much happier as an entrepreneur. I'm much happier calling the shots in my own business. And if I really am honest with myself, the corporate life and I were never a perfect fit. So you need to lead your own life, okay? And finally, another crippling way we sabotage our success is this. We think we've got to stay in this job where there's mistreatment or stay in a relationship where it's not going well because, well, we have to, because of money or because of benefits. And that, well, may be true for a period of time. But what we need to do is do what we must to stay afloat, but always plant the seeds for your future self. If you don't, it'll be 10 years from now and you'll still be in a situation or a job or a company that isn't right for you. So even if you feel like, oh, I'm in a job and I can't leave it right now because my kids are going off to college and I need the 401k or I need this salary, start planting the seeds for who you're going to be in 10 years. Okay. I'm seeing some wonderful questions here, and I'm going to try to make sure I touch on as many as possible. I'm seeing, how do we build our network? I'll be happy to talk about that at the close of this presentation a little later. All right. So what is career bliss? What is the best direction? Well, everybody has their own version, of course. My best direction is your best direction. It's very personal, but I can tell you this after working with so many people. The best direction usually has these components. It marries up all that you are. It connects the dots of who you have been at your happiest self. And I want to tell you that there's evidence of what that is when you look back in your childhood and your teen years. I'm going to talk about this a little later, but everything that I do now that I love is something I did as a young person. Write, speak, I was a performer, I was a singer, I was a competitive tennis player, and I loved competition. I loved psychology. I loved to look at why people do what they do. People, even in my high school years, friends, boys and girls, would come and ask me like big life questions. What do you think I should do? And I remember asking my mom, why are they coming to me? I'm only 17. But even back then, I had a penchant for listening and helping people kind of make clarity out of chaos. Who were you when you were young? And what has gone by the wayside? So the best direction marries up all that you are. It also requires stretching and growing. My goodness, I see this every day. We have forgotten how to be brave and what it feels like. And I have a slide later about this. But the happiest direction is not status quo. Yes, sometimes we have to rest and restore ourselves and kind of stay put for a little, but we're happiest when we're growing and stretching. Again, it keeps you afloat but plants the seeds for your future self. The best direction also doesn't resist what is, but embraces it. I'm going to give you a quick example. When I first started out as a coach, I wasn't making enough money. And I know why that is. The model I was following, the one-on-one coaching model, was not sustainable for me. But I broke myself against that. It's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to work, it's going to keep working, it's going to work. Well, it didn't work. And instead of resisting the reality, I should have embraced it earlier and made changes, and I didn't. And that is a huge, I love to turn my mess into a message. That was a mess. I waited way too long to embrace reality and change it. And that has been a pattern for me. Does that resonate with you? I'd love to hear. The best direction makes you happy and excited to think about it. So many people, when I ask them, what is it that you really want to do, often they have no idea. They know what they don't want, and they're very sad and depressed to think about that, but they don't have a direction they're happy and excited to think about, and we have to help you get on the path to that. It honors, the best direction for you honors what you know to be true about yourself, even if that truth is scary to you. Like I have people saying, I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to be an author. I want to, have a top blog, but they're scared. They're scared of that. So they don't honor what they know to be true about themselves, which is they are capable of doing those things. Finally, the best direction gives form to your life intentions. The question here is, what is it that you intend for your life? Most of us, especially if we're under 50, have not asked this question. We haven't asked, when I'm at the end of my life looking back, what do I want to have done? What is the legacy I want to leave? What are the intentions I have for being on this planet at this time? So whatever age you are, I would love you to take this coming weekend or whatever time you have and take a few hours and answer these questions. What are your life intentions? And if you don't know, it's really important that you figure it out. And finally, the best direction leads you through action, not just thought, but empowered action to your highest and most exciting visions. All right. So how do we get there? Let me talk about what's in the way and what's missing first. I hear these 4 pieces of a happy, blissful career and life missing most. This is what I hear every single day in the work that I do. Women say, I might have a good job, but it's not meaningful. It's not purposeful. And again, I do think some of these issues also associate with the developmental stage you're in. So I remember when I was 25 and 30 and even 35, I was working really hard, striving really hard to make a great living and provide for my family. I wasn't necessarily looking at meaning and purpose, although I do think millennial generations, the younger generations, do look at it more immediately. I want meaning and purpose in my life. But what happens is as we age, we realize it's not just about a paycheck. We want work that matters to us because that's what gets us up in the morning and because most of us work more hours than we do anything else. So I want you to think about, is it meaningful for you? Number two, another piece that's missing for so many professional women is they can't tell the warning signs that are coming that are going to turn into a breakdown. So, I wrote a book, Breakdown Breakthrough, about the 12 hidden crises working women face and how to overcome them. And I want to tell you, I faced all of those crises, and I've learned so much. But one of them was I never saw the warning signs. I was sick chronically for 4 years with an infection of the trachea, of all things. Every 3 months I'd get terribly sick. There were so many signs that I was in the wrong place, in the wrong work, with the wrong people. But I didn't heed them. So I'm asking you, are there warning signs that you're not seeing? The third piece that's missing is women say to me, I don't have what it takes. They think they don't have what it takes because they're comparing themselves to people that look very successful. I mean, it's a social media world, right? How many of us had looked on Facebook? I had a friend who said, I wish my life were as great as my life looks on Facebook. And we howled because that's what we do in social media. We present the filtered veneer of who we really are. That's not who you want to compare yourself to because, everyone's fighting a hidden battle that you can't see, right? So you do have what it takes. I promise you do, but you got to get on the path to self-actualization or you're never going to see that you have what it takes. And the fourth piece that's missing is I don't feel supported, either by my spouse or my family or my friends or my colleagues, and I've lived all this. All of these things you can do something about, and we're going to tell you exactly how. All right. So here's the heart of what I'd love to share. A great career is not an outer job. It's an inner job. And that's why I think, my therapy training is I'm so happy to have had it because while in coaching I don't do therapy with people, everything has a therapeutic lens to it. And what I mean by that is who we are as a professional is who we are as a person. You cannot separate those. So what's going on in your personal life and who you are in your personality is going to affect and influence and bleed over into your professional life. And so these 10 shifts that I'm going to share with you will change everything for you. And, you'll get on the path to that career bliss because you're doing the internal work that has to be done first. So these 10 shifts are going to change how you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're assuming, especially negative assumptions. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not young enough. It's going to shift what you're worrying about and help you release some of those fears. It's going to shift how you communicate. It's going to shift the opportunities that you're now pushing away because there are some. And it's going to shift what you're attracting and creating. And you're going to hear some terms from me about co-creation and attraction. I believe, and my research bears out, we absolutely influence what happens to us. We attract and co-create what is happening. Some people say, ugh, I don't want to hear that because why do I want to think I'm co-creating this treatment? The good news is if you're co-creating it, you can change it. And trust me, I have done it. I'm 57 now, and I have used everything that I'm sharing with you. And the mistreatment that I experienced in a chronic way does not happen any longer. People don't mess with me like they used to, and this can happen to you if you struggle with things that you're creating that you don't want. These 10 shifts are also going to help you be a savvy planner. You're going to plan for your life. It's not just going to happen to you. You're going to create goals and milestones and get on the path to creating those. You're going to collaborate with people because we can't do it on our own, as we said. You're going to become a generous giver. Generosity is essential. It can't be all about me, me, me. I know you know what I mean. You know how people who come at you in networking and they've got their hand out. I have a big platform on LinkedIn, and I hear from some amazing people who are so generous and reach out and say, how can I help you, Kathy? But I also hear from hundreds of people just with their hand out. I need a new job. What can you do for me? That approach isn't going to work. We have to be generous givers and compelling communicators. And these shifts are going to help you also be an eager learner and a resilient adapter. And finally, a powerful achiever, because that's what you are looking to be. All right. So I want to give you a framework for how to look at what we do to build career bliss. This framework, it's a 5-step process you can apply to your entire life. Right now we're talking career, but it works for every dimension of your life. And I learned this when I was doing research for my book, Breakdown Breakthrough. I did a year-long research study. Russ and I were just talking about how we love research. The research with other people is what opened my eyes. I thought I had all the answers about professional crisis, and I didn't. Talking to these 100 women around the country and the world about how they overcame professional crisis helped reveal this 5-step process, because they engaged in these steps to overcome the crisis. So the first is step back for an empowered perspective of who you are, what you want, and what you're capable of. What this means is you can't usually do this on your own. We cannot see the amazingness of ourselves alone and in a vacuum. You got to step back, often with some help. You find a mentor or a coaching buddy or an accountability buddy. And I have some tools for you to do this. But you have to look at the situation from a bigger perspective than what's going on right now, right at the tip of your nose. You are more than that. And you have to look at just the amazingness of who you have always been. Secondly, and you do want to take these steps in the order that I'm talking about them, you have to let go of the thinking patterns and behaviors that keep you stuck. And there are some. There are some for every human being. So you want to look at what pattern has been co-created or occurring to me over and over. So for me, for instance, in my 18-year corporate career, I had bosses that were hard or toxic or challenging much more than bosses who were supportive. And one friend finally said to me years ago, Kathy, I love you to pieces, but I think it's really interesting that you've had 5 jobs and they all have really troublesome bosses. What do you think's going on there? And I was so offended. She said, I think therapy might be helpful. And I was just terribly offended. But you know what? She was dead on right. I have had problems with authority, and it comes from my childhood. And I don't suffer fools lightly. So if I have a boss who is overseeing me, who doesn't understand a thing about what I'm doing, I get frustrated. More reasons why having my own business is better suited to me. But I had to let go of that pattern. I had to do some therapy work, some coaching work, talk to my mentor about what's going on with me, that I have bosses that are really not supportive. And I have let go of that. And now the people in my life are incredibly supportive. The third step is say yes to your most compelling visions. So I want to tell you that literally 90% of the people that I work with cannot tell me what they want in the future. They can't identify it. Well, if you can't identify a new direction that's going to be thrilling to you, you're going to stay stuck, because we don't want to leave what we know. You call it the comfort zone, but for many people, their comfort zone is highly uncomfortable. It's hell, excuse my swearing. But you're not going to leave your comfort zone if you don't know where you're going to. And that requires thinking about what is the next step that you want. And you don't have to have a 20-year plan. I'm talking, what do you want next year? What do you want in the next 6 months? And then you get on the path to that. The fourth step is one that almost everybody hasn't done when they want to better their career or change their career. And what I am saying here is we need to try it on physically, behaviorally, financially, psychologically. We have to try on the new directions we dream about. One quick example is, I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with in the corporate world who said, I dream of running a bed and breakfast. I had no idea running a bed and breakfast was so popular. I want to tell you that of the, let's say, 15 to 20 people over the past few years who've said that, what I coach them to do is go try that on. Go interview bed and breakfast owners. Go stay at 5 bed and breakfasts. Talk to the owner. Watch what they're doing. Understand what the realities are of running and owning a bed and breakfast. Not one of them came back and said they want to do it. They all came back and said, oh boy, no, I don't want to do it. It doesn't mean that it's not a great direction for someone, but we fantasize about what it's going to be like. It's going to be flexible. It's going to be creative. It's going to be easy. I'm going to be cooking. They don't understand the realities of running a business, of a bed and breakfast. So trying it on any way you can is going to tell you if it's right for you. And once you realize what's right, you have to create it smart with specific, I know you've heard this term, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. And you've got to get support. Because, all of us know, haven't we ever come up with a New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or my birthday, my 50th birthday, I'm going to do this, or, climb a mountain or run a marathon, and you get 2 months into it and you fall off the wagon. It's because these things are not easy. You need accountability help, and you need support for when you fall down. You need someone to say, I know you've got it in you. Come on, pick yourself up. So those are the basic steps. Now I'm going to talk to you about how do we achieve those 5 steps. So here are the 10 shifts I'm asking you to make. The first is defining right and happy work on your terms. So again, if you do not know what right and happy work looks like, you only know what you don't like, it's time that you understand yourself much more intimately. I've got a great tool, and I can email it to everyone, or Russ can share that. Absolutely fine. Oh, my laptop's making a lot of noise. Sorry about that. It's my career path assessment. It's a list. It's free. It's a list of, it's 11 pages of questions I wish someone had asked me 30 years ago. And if I had answered them honestly, I would not have made the mistakes I made. So what are these questions? Every job you've ever had, what you loved, what you hated, what was a struggle, your biggest accomplishments, and what you learned from it, and what you want to bring forward. So many people, they'll list 10 jobs, and the first 3 they rated a 9 or a 10. They loved it. The last jobs, they rate them 0 and 1 and 2. But they forget that, wait a minute, 7 years ago, I loved that work. I totally forgot. So you want to go back and look at what did you love about it. Now, yeah, you may have changed, you may have shifted, but you don't want to forget the things that you were thriving in. You want to bring those forward. So take my free career path assessment. It takes hours, a few hours to fill it out, 3 or 4 hours. But, if you really want an amazing career, an amazing life, it's worth it and it's required. You've got to understand yourself. It very deeply. It asks you, what are your standards of integrity? What are your values? Who do you look up to and why? And it asks a whole lot of other questions that every professional needs to answer before you make a move. Okay? Shift number 2 is connect with other happy, successful, and impactful professionals. So, there's so much written about networking, and I don't love that term, because when I was a vice president, I didn't want to network because I didn't like who I was and I didn't like what I was doing. I want you to connect. I want you to, I call it, get off your own island. Understand that the world is an amazing place. And, I am the biggest fan of LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been very good to me. They came and filmed a video of my work, and I have a big publishing platform there. Just recently I've connected with a fellow who is so helpful, and he's helping my son get into the business world, and you wouldn't believe the help and support and opportunities available to you when you begin to connect with other people, and when you learn from other people who've had great success and reward. So that's another thing. You want to surround yourself not with people who are in the same situation as you, but people who have expansive success, people who can uplift you when you're not in the room. That's who you want to connect with. And the research shows that men are more easily gravitate to finding sponsors who are mentors, but they have the clout to make a difference. Men just more naturally do that. Women don't. So what we want for you is to find 3 role models, people out there in the world that can be in your community, in your company, on LinkedIn, on social media, on Twitter, people that you say, I would like to be like that person. Find them and watch them and connect with them on social media. I mean, the social media is the amazing equal opportunity leverager, right? You can't imagine how many people I've reached out to, best-selling authors, Tony Robbins, whoever it is, and said, I'd love to interview you, and it happens. And you want to find a mentor and a sponsor. And I want to tell you, if you have questions about this, I have a lot of videos on my website. You can check those out for specifically how to go about finding a mentor and sponsor. But you need them. You need people in your corner. Shift number 3 is about happiness. So again, I mentioned the amazing work of Sean Achor, Achor. He was on Oprah Super Soul Sunday. He's got an amazing TED Talk. He's the real deal. And now, of course, we're friends as well as colleagues. But he has something called the 21-Day Happiness Challenge. I have taken this challenge. I've taken it repeatedly. And his research shows if you do this for 21 days straight, you will experience a bit of a reset in your level of happiness. It's not set in stone how happy you are. You can actually affect that and become happier. His 5 steps, and go follow his work, SeanAchor.com, you can find him. Here are the steps. First of all, every day, and you can choose a time of day that works for you. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but you bring gratitude to mind. Just for a few minutes, write down 3 new things that you're grateful for every day. It's funny. I have a session prep form with my clients, and it asks, what are you grateful for? Some people will cut and paste from the last week what they're grateful for, and I will have to tell them, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I want you today to tell me what you're grateful for. It changes. It might be that the sun is out and I'm not going to be hit with a terrible storm today. It may be that my son was sick and he's better now. I want you to bring it to a personal breakthrough standpoint for yourself. What are you grateful for today? And there are well-researched reasons for why this will shift you, because what you focus on is what expands. If you focus only on what isn't working, you're going to get more of what isn't working. Secondly, journal about a positive experience you've had just for 2 minutes. A recent positive experience and what you felt and how it made you, relate differently at work or with your family or with your spouse or with your children. Bring it to mind, because it tells your whole system that you are reliving it, and it gives you a boost. It's beautiful. The research shows that exercising, engaging in 15 minutes only of mindful cardio activity, can change how your body and your mind respond to stress. The fourth piece of the happiness challenge is meditate. And I don't mean you have to go onto a mountain and meditate for 10 hours. I mean for 2 minutes a day. Watch your breath go in and out. I want to tell you, when I take 3 deep breaths down to, the tip of my toes, down to the bottom of my belly, the research shows that you have a bit of a reset in your neurological system. It makes such a difference to take 3 deep breaths, and that's all we're saying. Watch your breath go in and out, and let go of the thoughts. Just watch your breath 2 minutes a day. And finally, this has got to be my favorite, engage in a random conscious act of kindness every day. So here's an example. Write a 2-minute positive email thanking someone or complimenting somebody or saying, gosh, I love that post on social media and here's what it did for me. Just a random act of kindness where you're not hoping for something in return. You know, this is one of my favorite slides because this will change your life. When you commit to having more happiness and believe that it's within your power to get it, you will get it. You will access it. All right. I hope you're with me, folks. Shift number 4 is learning the lessons your life is trying to teach you. Let me tell you what I mean. When I look at my own life, which I now see as a mirror of hundreds of thousands of women's lives, I haven't been quick enough to see what my life is trying to teach me. So I've stayed in situations that were toxic, not understanding that I'm not supposed to stay there. I'm not supposed to beat myself up and think I'm the loser, I'm the one that's wrong. I'm supposed to learn the lesson, which is I'm done with mistreatment. I'm done with not being valued. I'm done with being discriminated against. I'm done with not moving forward when I know I should be moving forward. The lessons your life is trying to teach you are always positive and expansive. They're never about how you blew it. What you need to do is embrace what is happening to you and think this. What if all that is happening right now, the good, bad, and the ugly, is for my highest good? What would it mean? Another way to look at it is, you know, I've had bad things happen, bad in quotes, really traumatic things, as we all have. Now, instead of being crushed by them and taking years to overcome them, right in the moment I say, oh, wow, okay, this is not what I had in mind. But what if in 3 years I look back and said, that was a blessing? Then what does it mean for me? What is the positive? What is the silver lining? What am I supposed to be learning here so that I won't ever have to experience this challenge, this crisis, this traumatic experience? So you really need to start learning the lessons your life is trying to teach you, not break yourself against them. We're getting there. We're on shift number 5. Shift number 5 is closing your power gaps. It's a term I love to use. It's a term that means almost everybody, and I can tell you because I've interviewed really illustrious people through my Forbes blog, and when I talk to them, and even receive their responses to my interview questions, I can see where they have power gaps. We're not immune, even if we're rich and successful. How I see power gaps is the thing that makes you feel most unhappy or most vulnerable, the thing that sucks your confidence out, the thing that sucks your energy out, the thing that you're ashamed of, the thing that you won't admit to other people, the thing that makes you think, oh, if they only knew this, right? That's a power gap. And I want to give you a concrete example. I had a woman reach out to me a few years ago, and she was young, under 30, and she was creating an amazing career and made a lot of money and had a lot of success. And I said, great, tell me what the issue is. And she said, here's the issue. I didn't finish college. And I said, okay, tell me what that means to you. And she said, you know, my friends say, who cares? Look at the success you've had. But I feel like it's my dirty little secret. If you feel like you have one of those, you have to do something to address it. And I want to tell you, I think I coached her, giving her information that I don't think she wanted to hear, which was, if you feel that's a dirty little secret, then finish your college degree. And I think what she wanted was to get out of having to finish it, but feel better about herself. The problem is she's tried that. She tried that 52 ways to Sunday, and she doesn't feel better about herself. She's ashamed. So no amount of her friends or me saying, well, you know, it doesn't matter. It's how you perceive it. No amount of that is actually going to shift it for her. You have to address that power gap, and you have to close it. Making sense? Can't wait to hear what your questions are about this. Can't wait. Shift number 6 is overcoming your blocks to playing bigger. So what am I talking about? I interviewed a wonderful guy, Gay Hendricks, who wrote an amazing book we all should read called The Big Leap. And Gay walks his talk. He's so amazing. And he has researched in working with hundreds of CEOs of companies we've all heard of. and they've had upper limit problems, that there is an upper limit to how much love, success, wealth, happiness, balance, peace that we think we deserve. But it's subconscious. We're not aware of our upper limit problem, but it acts as a barrier to more success, more money, more love, more connection. And he has uncovered there are 4 barriers to having more success, and that we actually subconsciously sabotage our efforts. And I believe this is true. I believe that consciously we all want more love and success and money, but subconsciously many of us resist it and fight it. And he talks about the 4 barriers being that we feel fundamentally flawed, meaning we feel we do not deserve it. Something has made us feel like we are not worthy of the success we consciously say we want. I have found, being a therapist, that usually those messages come from childhood. Either how your parents raised you, and this is not to blame our parents. Everyone's doing the best they can. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to blow it and hurt my kid. But we don't know everything. We make mistakes. And a lot of parents have pushed their children in directions that, or said things, or communicated messages verbally or non-verbally that told the child, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough to do that, or you don't deserve that. So that barrier number 1 is feeling fundamentally flawed. Barrier number 2 is people think I'm going to be disloyal to my tribe or abandon them if I become a millionaire, or if I write that best-selling book, or if I build that business. Somehow I'm being disloyal. The 3rd barrier is believing that more success will equal more burden. Gay was referring to, he had the belief that he would become more of a burden to others if he became more successful. But what I see in women is they're afraid. Let's say they launch an entrepreneurial venture, they're afraid that the more success they have, the more they are going to be so tapped out, so burnt out, they're not going to be able to be with their families. They're scared of it, that more success means it's too much of a burden. And the 4th barrier is the crime of outshining, that subconsciously you actually feel badly for outshining someone in your family or someone in your life. These are deep barriers, but read this book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and I really believe that almost everyone on the planet has had one of these barriers at one point or another. I know I've had all of them. And once you recognize them and can release them, life changes. You get on that fast track to bliss. All right, shift number 7. Evaluating the best direction takes knowing what matters most to you. So here's my question to you. We all want a lot of things. But as that Tony Robbins coach said, I don't care what people want, I care what they're going to commit to. So I want to ask you, what is your top priority in life? What is it? What is the thing you would give up everything for? Let me give you an example of mine, and this is not to make mine right, yours wrong. Everybody has their own. But when I was moving up the corporate ladder and became a vice president, I saw in front of me that there were just 2 levels between me and CEO. And what I had to think about is, do I want to continue on this track, or do I want to ensure that I will be the parent that I want to be and be in the fabric of my children's lives? Because what was starting to happen was I was not in the fabric of their lives, and they were little then, and they're 20 and 23 now. And I can tell you this, making a decision about your priorities when they're 3 and 7 will impact everything about when they're 20 and 23. It's no small thing, right? So I made the decision that I want to be in the fabric of their lives, and that changed the kind of opportunities that I wanted and that I accepted. And I am good with that because that was a conscious priority. I ask you to decide here and now, what is the top priority in your life? Now for other women, it's building that business or starting that nonprofit. I don't judge. No one should judge. How far have we come if we're judging each other on our priorities? To me, gender equality is you have equal rights, access to equal rights, and you have the ability to choose the kind of life that you want. So honor your top priority, but to do that, you need boundaries because people have something to say about that. I got a lot of pushback when I didn't want to go on what I thought were boondoggles with some of my colleagues just to travel. And I thought, no, I'm going to send the director. And people were like, why? You're not as committed to work. It's not true. It's that I honored being in the fabric of my children's lives more than traveling for situations that I didn't think needed me to be present there. So you need strong boundaries to say yes to yourself and no to what isn't going to support your top priorities. Shift number 8, falling in love with networking and marketing. Okay, this is what I need to say. Literally, 98% of the thousands of women I've worked with are not good enough in terms of networking and promoting themselves. If you want to know why that is, watch my TEDx talk, Time to Brave Up. There are societal and cultural reasons, and I'll just cut to the chase. I don't mean to blame society, I don't, but research has shown, and there are unequivocal research studies that show that women in our society today and in societies around the world are punished and suppressed when they're forceful. They're negatively perceived. There was one I featured in my Forbes blog that showed that an actress and an actor, a female actor and a male actor, were speaking forcefully at a meeting about how they didn't like the direction where the team was going. They showed this video of two people, different genders, saying the exact same words, and a mixed audience who watched the man and watched the woman. A mixed audience rated the woman far less competent. She had a decline in competency and a decrease in her value, her perceived value, because she was forceful, much more so than the man. The problem is, if we cannot identify what we're great at, our unique, amazing talents. I just got off the phone with a client an hour ago, struggling with what have I done in this company, in this job that warrants a promotion. You can't just say, I deserve a promotion. You need to build a case for it with metrics that talk about here are the outcomes, not just here's the task I did, nobody cares. It's the outcomes, the way you've moved the needle for that company. You've streamlined, you've generated more revenue, you've created new products that brought in 7 new clients worth $1 million. How have you moved the needle? And we have to start being comfortable talking about it. Now, you might say to me, well, if we get pushback and we're punished, why are we going to? Because for the world to change, they have to see evidence of assertive, confident women. Otherwise, it'll never change. And I can tell you, if you watch my TEDx talk, you'll see there's a way to say it so that you're heard and you're respected and you're not punished. So know that you can't succeed alone. You need people, and you need to know how you're amazing, and you need to begin to talk about it. And I don't mean being a braggart, really. Look at my stuff. Look at my website. If you read it and think, oh, she's such a braggart, well, then this isn't resonating with you. But most people don't say that. They say, wow, it's cool that you've done that stuff, and I'd like to learn more. It doesn't backfire when you come from the right spirit of it, which is sharing what you love to do and why you love to do it. That's the key. We're getting there, folks. Shift number 9 is trying on your move, and we talked about this. Move through the fear and the doubt and start trying on the next thing. If you want to write, start writing. I can't tell you how many people say, oh, you've written a book. I'm now writing the second book. It's not easy. It's not easy. But they say, oh, you've written a book. I want to write a book. And I say, great. Are you writing? And they say, no. Well, you can't write a book if you're not writing one word. Start. Write an article. Start writing on your platform on LinkedIn. My goodness, why wouldn't you? Start to build your authentic leadership. Try it on behaviorally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. start. I hope you will hang up from this call and begin to start trying on the move that excites you the most. And shift number 10 is this. You've got to take actions that get results. So Maria Nemeth, in her amazing book, The Energy of Money, another book that I think is a life changer. If you have any issues with money, read the book, The Energy of Money. But she talks about don't metafizzle, meaning don't just sit on your couch and think good thoughts. It's not enough. And don't get me wrong, positive thinking and happiness is essential to success, but it's not everything. You have to take the right kind of action and then learn from it. Yeah, you're going to fail. Anything that's bigger than where you are today is going to require some failure. But we're scared to death of failure, so scared. Until you can embrace failure, you can't move forward to that path of career bliss. You can't. All right. Woo! We're flying through. Okay. So some people have said, how do you build a network? I'm glad I have a slide about it. Build a loving and supportive tribe means doing this. Be other-focused. Reach out to people and say, how can I help you? And don't just say it as a platitude. Mean it. You know, wow, that post was great. I'd like to share it with my community on NAPW, right? Be other-focused. Add value. Think about a partnership that would be complementary to what you do, where you can be a contributor or a collaborator with someone else. Tap into your kindness and your giving spirit, even if you feel like, oh, I can't go another day, I hate this job, or I'm not making enough money in my entrepreneurial venture. The way out of that is not to be desperate. The way out of that is to see the amazingness of what you have to offer and begin offering it. Be selective with who you associate with. You know, what's that wonderful saying? You know, you can't, what is it? You can't fly soar like an eagle if you're down with the turkeys, some funny thing. But it's true, be selective. And I don't mean you're only trolling for people higher level than you. I mean, find people that enliven you, that uplift you, that excite you, that believe in the possible for you. And don't let people into your tribe who are naysayers and who drag you down. We talked about giving first. And finally, folks, use all the tools available to you. So every one of you on this call, I would love you to link in with me. And, again, LinkedIn can change your whole career. But when you write and send me an invite, add a note. Don't just use their generic language. Never use the generic language. Write a note and say, Kathy, I heard your webinar. It resonated with me, whatever you want to tell me. And say, I'd love to connect. I guarantee you I will connect with you. Put it on Twitter. Loved the whatever it is. You understand what I'm saying. Use every tool available to you. And I remember 5 or 6 years ago when I got on Twitter, I said, oh, my God, do I really have to do this? Who's got time for this? Oh, my gosh, now it's one of my most favorite things, and doors have flown open because of it. You know, next week I'm giving a retreat in Greece, and a lot of it is because what I've been doing on LinkedIn and who I've connected. I can't tell you how instrumental it is. So I'm going to recap with this. Why should you do this? Why should you do this work? Why should you get on the fast track to an amazing career? Because the world needs you to. The world needs you. It's going to help you feel aligned with life and full of hope and possibility instead of despairing or confused or lost. Lost is the word I hear from so many people. It's going to help you share your natural talents, not those skills that you hate to use, because there's a difference. I mean, I have a lot of skills that in my corporate life I used that I hated using, like, analyzing P&Ls. I don't enjoy it. I'm fine at it, but I don't like it. I like words. I like ideas. I like coaching. You get the idea. It's going to help you share your natural talents and gifts. It's going to give you more engagement, more excitement, more joy. It's going to help you be part of something bigger than yourself, which is the most motivating thing in the world. It's going to also help you be an empowering role model to your children, to other women, to young women who are looking everywhere. Who can I look up to? It's going to help you be one of those. And finally, it's going to help you make the impact you are meant to make. All right, we're almost there. here's the next step I want to ask of you. It's a commitment. And I would love you to say this in your mind while I read this to you. I would love you to make this commitment to yourself and say, I believe in a career that's thrilling and fulfilling for me. I believe I have valuable skills and talents that the world needs. I'm committed to pushing through my fears and doing something positive every day, to honor my commitment to doing what inspires me. All it takes is 15 minutes a day, folks, honestly, to put yourself first, which I know is hard for many, many people. And here's a way you can dimensionalize that 15 minutes. You can figure out what you want by taking the career path assessment. You can take a step to try something on. You can find a mentor. You can put your toe in the water in a new direction. You can say no to something that has been exhausting you that you really haven't wanted to do, but you felt ashamed to say no, right? Or you can look at how your mindset is holding you back. So that's just, 7 examples of 100 things you could do in 15 minutes a day. Really, it's one bold step, and that is the way to get on the fast track to career bliss. You can build an amazing career, and you need to, and the world needs you to. Are you ready for it? I'm 100% sure you are, or you wouldn't be listening to this, that you are co-creating what you want by being here. So I hope this was helpful. I want to say, Russ, I know we have questions, and I can't wait to get to them. I want to offer all of you a special offer, and I'll make this quick. I have a 16-week online career transformation course. It's called the Amazing Career Project. I've given this course for 4 years. I believe there's nothing else like it on the market, to be honest. Here we go. I'm demonstrating to you how we speak positively about our stuff. The fall session starts October 2nd. It guides you through the 16 most essential steps to building a successful, rewarding, and passion-filled career and life you'll love. It doesn't just change your career and improve it. It changes your life. And it's for, I call them the 4 buckets, people who want more success and recognition in their current job, people who want a new job or a new role, people who want a new career entirely, and people who are considering launching a new venture. It's perfect for all of those. And I want to tell you, you can look at the slides and see here what it offers. It's 16 weeks, training videos every week, 60-minute open call with me every week, 16 homework assignments, and just a lot more. But what I want to tell you is the early bird registrations open right this minute, and it closes tomorrow. And what I'd love to do, the early bird gives you $500 off the course, plus a lot of bonuses, but I am so excited to give you $100 more off just for being affiliated and partnering with the NAPW and being here and taking the time to listen to this and getting on your fast track to career bliss. So you have $100 off the early bird price, so that's $1,397 for this 16-week program. And the link is amazingcareerproject.com. Use your discount code NAPW at checkout for those additional savings. Oh, I hope that's helpful. Russ, you still there?
Kathy, that has been absolutely amazing. We're still seeing more and more questions coming in.
Good.
We'd just like to say to everybody, please do take up Kathy's kind offer for the Amazing Career Project. We will be ensuring that everybody gets a link to the video, gets copies of the slides, and all the information that Kathy has shared with us today. Kathy, perhaps, I know we've got a few minutes left. We've got lots and lots of questions coming in. If I can ask you, if you want to have a look through some of the ones that have come in and give an answer, any that we don't get to, and there are lots that we won't do, we will make sure that we get answered. Kathy has very kindly said that she'll look through those and answer them, and we will get those to people either by email or through our blogs moving forward. But Kathy, if I can pass back to you again, I'm sure you'll be tired after the last hour, but let's have a look at some of the questions we have.
No, I'd love to, and this is where the rubber meets the road. How can I really help? So there's a lot of questions, and again, I'm happy to answer them in a way that Russ and I can work out for you. So here's one, and I'm going to choose questions that I think are relevant for a wide variety of people. So here's one. What if I know what I want to do next but don't know how to get to my next step and don't know who to talk to? So here's what I would do. If you know what the next step is, find people doing what you're doing, what you want to do, and connect with them. I know it's scary. Find them on social media. Let's say, for instance, you wanted to be a coach. You could reach out to me and say, "Oh, I'm watching what you're doing. It's, you're a role model for me. I would love to get going on this path. I'm not sure the next step. Would you have anyone to talk to?" And then what I would ask you to do is say, I'd love to be of service to you in any way possible too. Let me know how I can help. Whenever you ask for help, always offer help. Always. Never think that you don't have something to offer. But look at the people doing what you want to do and talk to them. That's the way to do it. Another way is, let's say, I'm using an example, let's say you want to be a graphic designer. Find the graphic design associations in your area and start going. Just go and say, I'm an accountant, but I want to move into graphic design, and I thought it would be wonderful to just meet some people and hear what you're all working on. Just throw yourself into it. Start trying it on. Oh, good question. Where do I find that career path assessment someone's asked? The link is kathycaprino.com/free-assessment. You can get it right on my website and download it. I want you to know that, it's really for your use. If you're wanting more help from me, you can find out how to get that on my website. Please share some ideas on how to approach mentors and sponsors. I've written a lot about this, and I want to tell you I have a whole series called Brave Up Videos. So at the top of my website on the nav bar, you can see how I help, and there's a little button that says videos. I think we have 38 videos. I have 38 videos there, and I talk all about this. Let me give you a tip. You don't want to go to a stranger and say, "Will you be my mentor?" Reminds me of that book, "Will you be my mother?" The bird falls out of the nest and goes around asking a crane and a sky rise and a this and a that, "Will you be my mother?" You don't want to say, "Will you be my mentor?" You approach mentors by it's someone who you've already demonstrated your potential to, someone in your workplace, someone in your community who you've done a project with. And then say you love them and you think the world of them. Ask them a question. "Hey, Kathy, I've seen that you do webinars, and that's so interesting. Would you mind answering one question?" You don't walk up and say, "Will you be my mentor?" because people will say no until you have demonstrated your potential, until they know they like dealing with you and working with you and they want to help. But if you ask one question and it goes well, and they answer and they like to answer, you're on your way. I mean, the sponsor is another issue, but I do have some videos on that. You can check that out. Could you explain power gaps? Sure. Power gap is an area in your consciousness, in your mind, in your heart, in your thinking, where you have lost the ability to feel powerful. It's like a crack in the sidewalk that energy is releasing from it, right? A power gap is where you don't feel confident, you feel ashamed. It's your dirty little secret. It's something you think, "I'm not smart enough. I'm not competent enough." Have you ever heard of the imposter syndrome? I've lived that, and there's several definitions, but I was doing a really high-level job, and in some of the capacities of that job, I felt like an imposter. I felt like I don't really know what the heck I'm doing here. That is a power gap. You want to close those. If you don't know what you're doing, go get help. Go take a class. Go talk to your mentor and say, "I don't really know how to do this task, and it embarrasses me," right? Or let's say you're not a great writer, and your writing has held you back. People have said, you're not a good communicator. Go take a communications class. Close that gap that makes you feel less than. Oh, wow. Aren't these questions great? What is the name of the book about money? It's called The Energy of Money by Dr. Maria Nemeth, N-E-M, as in Mary, E-T-H. You can find that on Amazon. How do we identify what we think we should do and be from what makes us happy? Love it. Here's the deal. You're just not listening. And why? The stuff that you're thinking you should do doesn't feel good. It feels like it's a driven fear. It feels incredibly different. And if you don't know how that feels, you're not in touch with yourself. So I'm going to ask you to spend this weekend, spend an hour with a white piece of paper in front of you and ask your higher self, and this sounds like a religious thing. It's not religious, it's spiritual. I believe we all have a higher self, the self that's tapped into more wisdom than our personality and our ego can get. Ask your higher self, what am I doing that I don't want to do? Here's a question. I watched this, Tony Robbins, on a documentary, I Am Not Your Guru. He asked this question. Here's the question. Who did you crave love most from in your childhood, and who did you have to be to get it? Oh! I cried. I literally had tears in my eyes because in a minute I knew who I had to be for my mother and my father. The way I perceived it was to get the love I was looking for. It chokes me up. Ask yourself that question. Who did I crave love and attention and validation from, and who did I have to be to get it? So, for instance, my answer was I had to be obedient for one parent and I had to be brilliant for another. And if I said that to them today, they would say, no, we love you equally. But it was the perception I had that, for instance, my sweet dad, who I adore, and he's passed away, as I said, but he was a staunch supporter of me. But I would come home with all A's and an A-, and honest to goodness, he would say, oh, wow, okay, good. So, no, he wouldn't say, oh, wow. He'd say, good job. What happened with the A-? And he didn't understand that is diminishing for a human being. What I wanted is that they celebrated A's and A-, but they were so used to it with me that there was no celebration. It was, what happened with the A-? So go home and think about that. These questions are beautiful. Do I have information on how to fund an entrepreneurial endeavor? I'm connected with a few people that do some angel investing, but I'm probably not the most perfect resource, but you can certainly reach out to me and I'll share with you. I've written quite a few Forbes interviews and Forbes posts on funding entrepreneurial ventures. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about that and do that via LinkedIn. That's a great way for you to connect with me. Let's see. Some women who are successful seem to wield their power on their team to put fear into the team and use that tone that's inappropriate and undermines talent. Why? I'm going to tell you this. This is how I see it. First of all, let's put gender aside. There are great leaders and terrible leaders. There are great managers and terrible managers. I wrote a post, why are there so many terrible managers and what to do about it. You can find that on my Forbes blog, Career Bliss. So let's take the gender out of it. There's people that learn how to motivate people and enliven people and people who didn't. People who themselves have been beaten up emotionally when they didn't perform and they think that's how they're supposed to manage. So you're going to get good ones, you're going to get bad ones. Now you're saying some women who are successful do this. So this is my belief. In the past, I'm a boomer generation. It was very few and far between that women were in the leadership seat. It still is. I mean, the number of CEOs who are women are shockingly low. But it used to be that women had to claw their way to the top. And for some women, they were afraid that someone was going to usurp that one little seat at the table. So often they would wield their power in a negative way. But I really don't see this as a gender issue. I see this as there's some terrible leaders. And that's the truth. When you've got one, you want to leave that role. You don't want to be under an emotional manipulator. You don't want to be under a narcissist. If you're under a narcissist, you're never going to succeed. It's time that you find another role under someone else or out of that company. I unequivocally share that. And if you have any narcissism in your life, you reach out to me. I've got a 6-part webinar series, all sorts of stuff. Do we have time for one more, Russ?
Kathy, I think we can do one more. I know we've kept you and you've invested so much time, but let's do one more and then we will close the session.
Okay, here we go. I have suffered by investing so much time in my career, but I feel I've been taken advantage of by the company. Was there a moment of clarity in your career when you thought enough is enough? Well, what a great question to end on. Yeah, when I got fired, when I got laid off, I should say, and it wasn't copacetic. And I said, enough. In my therapist's office the next week, I said, I will never allow myself to be, and I get choked up and feel like a victim again. I am done. I'm done with what I have done to allow this to go on. I will become a different person, and I did. And I hope you will too. If you're getting taken advantage of, you're co-creating it, and it's a boundary issue, and you need to say no, and you need to start braving up and speaking up and taking action. I hope that was helpful, everyone.
Kathy,
thank you so much for
been
joining.
Amazing. Been absolutely amazing.
So
what an absolutely fantastic session. Some amazing insights and some hugely actionable advice. And I'm sure that I'm echoing the thoughts of everybody that's joined us on today's webinar when I say how truly inspiring the presentation has been. In fact, I noticed that somebody has given some feedback that says that it's been a truly life-changing experience. So on that note, a massive thank you. Massive thank you to you, Kathy.
Massive thank you to you and NAPW for hosting these series. And everybody, don't forget, join the Amazing Career Project. Take another $100 off. I can't wait to work with you October 2nd. And thank you, Russ. Thank you for making this a wonderful experience.
Thanks, Kathy, and thanks to everybody for joining us. Just to confirm, the link to the presentation will be sent out shortly. Keep the questions coming in, and please do make sure you give us that feedback. I know that Kathy would like to hear what you thought about today. We look forward to welcoming you to our next Horizon Insights webinar, but just leaves me to say a massive thank you to everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.